Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Ramsey White, and we just ran Combat Night Orlando last night. We had incredible time, a bunch of fights, and excited to bring some of the guys on from the show to talk about the results and give you guys, just a little follow up on how things went down. So I'm going to be joined by CEO Mitchell Chamali and also Coach Ben Stark of the commentary team with us. So what's up,
What's going
guys?
on, everybody?
Yo, real quick, how are both of y'all sideways? And I can't get my phone to go sideways.
Yeah, it's in the settings,
Did just turn your
I
phone.
I went to settings.
and you
I
Dude,
did.
we had such a hard time in Tally getting this thing working the first time through. But if you have your phone set to like auto rotate, it should just do it for you. That's what mine does.
Is my phone? Oh, wait a second. Maybe that was it.
There you go.
Motherfucker.
hey.
Motherfucker. I was getting so mad. I had it all set up right. I had my plugged in headphones, and I was like, damn, I can't go sideways. Whoever had the phone at combat night turned off auto rotation. Probably
I
Faulkner.
saw you in the little green room, and it was twisted side to side.
I was upside down. I was like, why the fuck am I upside down? Wait, how do I get a cool background? More?
It took us hours.
We'll share
That
the
shit
secret
is
that
so
took y'all
hidden on the
hours to
phone.
learn.
Dude,
Yeah, you
we
got
were
all the
sitting there like,
graphics. You
how do
just
we
got to
do it?
drop them in.
Yeah,
So
it was
how'd y'all do
finding
it?
it that was so difficult.
That's under
Hold on,
settings
hold
as well,
on.
bro.
No, it's not. There's two
Yeah.
things under setting: cam and audio.
He ain't wrong.
This is a
I'll
background.
have to give you a little tutorial on this then. You got a
Whatever.
cool background. You got the guillotine factory right there behind you.
The Guillotine Factory.
Whatever. I don't care about backgrounds.
Yeah, it's the foreground that matters. So, well,
Okay, I
we
can tell
got
you right now if you have the graphic.
Yeah, dude, where is it?
Okay, hit the three dots at the bottom,
More?
and then you'll see on your picture there's some sparkles, like little stars. Hit that, and then you can upload a background.
Mine doesn't have that, so I give up.
Totally reasonable.
Whatever. Whatever. Mine had
as
no
we are having this
sparkles.
discussion and we're talking about fights and stuff, if you guys that are watching have any questions, just jump over there in the comments, and I'm checking those out, and we'll get your questions and comments into the mix. So right off the bat, I just got the results and stuff here in front of me, and we can just go from the main event and just talk about any of the fights that were exciting to you guys. And I know the main event was certainly one of those. Bashmir Winston versus Ben Aris in the featherweight title bout. Uh, that unfolded quite, in a unique way, as Bashmir Winston was really putting on a show, showing a lot of his skills and growth, and a real diverse kind of attack. He was doing well on the feet, doing well on the ground. They're both doing some damage to each other, and through 2 rounds, Bashmir was getting the better of him, in my humble opinion. But during the course of the fight, he took some damage, got popped in the eye, and that thing swelled up and ended up causing a doctor stoppage. So, what did you guys think of that fight?
Man, I think there was some real controversy on that one. As I was, walking around the venue afterwards, shaking hands and stuff, a good handful of people came up to me and said that eye was caused by a headbutt. Though from the angle that Ramsey and I were at, all we saw was Bashmir's back, and as they circled, happened to his eye. But if that's the case, like, is there something that can be done about that because it was caused by an illegal strike? If that's the case,
Unfortunate.
I haven't seen the video yet.
So, there's a lot of mayhem after the fight, right? Asking yo, can we go to the judges' scorecards? The thing is like, if the ref had called that illegal move, right? Let's say he got hit with an illegal headbutt, and the ref stopped it for the illegal headbutt. Hey, time. we're going to like evaluate this and decide. At that moment, if Bashmir says I can't continue, they go to the judges' scorecards. If half the fight has happened, however,
Mhm.
they didn't ever stop it for an illegal headbutt. I personally didn't see it live, and I was watching that fight very closely. I'd have to go back and watch it. Which I heard the same thing. I heard a couple people say that, but you know what? Bashmir and his camp weren't part of those people that I heard saying it. When I feel like they would be the ones saying it the loudest. I want to go back and watch it just to see, but unfortunately, because the illegal foul wasn't called, and like, get this sucks even worse. Let's say that he did stop it for an illegal headbutt, and let's say Bashmir was like, "No, I'm good. Let's keep fighting," and then 2 minutes later it blows up. Doesn't matter, doctor stoppage. So they have to actually say they can't continue in the moment for that to happen. Which is, I mean, how often does this happen? Not very often. So I hate it for Bashmir. I do, I'll say this. I thought Ben Aris was gonna beat him. Honestly, I thought Ben Aris was gonna break him. And it looked like Bashmir got a second gear in this fight. And he looked really good. He didn't gas out. He looked like he was in good shape, good conditioning. And yeah, I mean, I think he was on his way to a win. And he had a couple moments where he almost finished Ben. It was crazy. He defended takedowns well. So as much as it sucks, I think the takeaway for Bash should be I've improved. I've gotten better.
Man, look great. The guys of the Treasure Coast Cartel are known for being dogs. They're known for producing really hard, tough, kind of brawlic guys. And Bashmir has evolved so much and really played at so many weights. It still blows my mind that he used to compete at 135. I was talking with Ramsey at the show. That might be part of the reason why he had so many blemishes early on his record, because he's a huge guy. Like, wasn't his fight before last night at 155? And he didn't even look small in that one.
Yeah.
But his game has grown immensely. His takedown defense dramatically better. His bottom defense, or at least scrambling to get on top, well improved. Ben Aris is a tank. He's a machine. He never stops coming forward. He is a gas tank that people are admirable of, or admiring. And Bashmir was knocking him around. I've never seen Ben take damage like that or react to damage like
that. Was the big one for that was the big one for me. I've never seen Ben react to getting hit hard. But Ben, if you ask me, I think Ben's a 35er. I've told Ben this since he started fighting with us. He should be a 135er. And I think this fight kind of made him realize, like, I need to go to 35.
Hey, I got one more guy I'm gonna bring into the chat.
Oh, what the fuck!
Hey, can you
tell him
guys
to turn
hear
his
me?
phone sideways?
You want me to turn my phone sideways?
Yeah, you got to fit in with us landscapers over here.
He gets confused by technology.
He is old.
Gosh.
Listen, real quick.
Oh man, I bet he's got smudges all over his lens. Look at that. You can barely see you. Notice how we all have our phones set up in a nice way so that we can just sit here and not have to hold it. Like we planned.
We taking a tour of Casa the Donaldson.
All right, listen. Hey, hear me out real quick, because you guys are wrong about some stuff.
Okay.
Bashmir has never fought at 135 or 155 ever. All of his fights have always been never one time. And I'm responsible for booking every single one of his fights except for like his first one, maybe his first two.
No kidding.
And yeah, he has never fought at 35. He had a kickboxing fight at a small show in Lakeland at 155 or 160. But every MMA fight, any fight he's ever had with Combat Night or Rise of a Warrior, and that's what matters here, is been at 145 pounds.
Hold on. What else matters?
Man, I had no idea.
You said you guys are wrong about something.
I
think you need to rephrase that. Ben Stark was wrong about something.
Damn.
Okay? Before you come over here sideways at all of us. Sorry,
I
man,
think-
but Donaldson, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Well, see, here's
You know
the
what-
thing.
You know
if
what?
you want to,
Can we add Brian Santiago to this?
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
don't do
Send
that.
him-
No, I don't do that shit. Is he really on here?
Nah.
I don't want to hear that shit right now. I really don't.
All right, back to the fights. All right.
All right. So, did you have any comments about that fight other than the correction of the record?
I want to say that Bashmir, this was the best Bashmir that we've ever seen as a team. This is the best Bashmir I have ever seen as a promoter and as a matchmaker. He listened to us. I told him I didn't want him kicking because I didn't want him to get off balance in a small cage and then get possibly getting taken down. So the game plan was not to kick, and he did not kick, so he did that right. When we were telling him get up, get out of his guard and just stand, I think he's in tune with our voices now, so he can kind of like hear us. I think that sometimes that takes a while for a guy to develop hearing his people talk to him. Talk to them in general as fighters. And I think the old Bashmir may have stuck it out on the ground a little longer. And that's kind of how he has gotten in trouble in the past. And I think that he's growing up as a fighter now, and he's listening to us. He's training different too. It sucks too, because here's the thing: he was on like a 5-fight win streak, and then he lost. He'll lose some, he'll win some, he'll lose. And last night was the best he's ever looked. In my eyes, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, though. When he was upset and I was holding him against the cage, I was telling him, I said, there's going to be a time where you might be fighting at the T-Mobile on Las Vegas Boulevard, and you're going to look back and say, man, that fight was just part of the path. It was part of the journey. Shit like this is going to happen to me. And you'll respect what it is that you're going through right now a lot more. It might hurt right now, but you'll be better off in the long run. And I think that's what got him to cool out, because did you see him when he pulled Ben up and he was like, nah, man, we're going to keep fighting. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I wasn't
Went
sure
over
what he
there.
was doing, and then you yanked him off, and I was like, oh, that's probably
No,
not
yeah.
what's happening. I thought he was being
He
a
went
good
over
sport.
there to hug him. He went over there to hug him and pulled him up, and then it was like, nah, come on, let's keep fighting. Yeah, he did that. And that's when I kind of separated him. And I was like, you can't do this right now.
So here's my question for you. As the guy
Mm.
who books Bashmir, he's 16 fights into his amateur career. He looks better than ever. Are you going to have him fight amateur again, or are you going to send him pro?
Yeah. I mean, 16, 25. I don't, like when it comes to amateurs, there's a lot of things that a lot of my guys still need to get better at, and like, maybe, okay, so he looks great making 145. He's strong. He looked good. Like, but man, there's some fight IQ stuff that we still need to work on. There's some defensive shit we still need to work on. I don't know. I think a year for him, something like that. Like a year, maybe
2-3 more fights.
Yeah, it's not like he didn't wrestle in high school. He didn't come up doing martial arts. This was all new to him, so he didn't have the reps like wrestling every weekend, and he didn't take any. He only took one kickboxing fight. This is as many fights as I could get him, the better. Because when he goes pro, there's no going back.
It's true. But you could also like take your time with him and kind of, mold him up boxing style for a handful more fights.
As an amateur.
If you decide to take him pro.
I mean, yeah, but
It's just like my thought is that he's fighting the toughest guys in the state.
It's
and that's
true,
a lot
but
of wear and tear on the body.
I do that I know, but I do that shit on purpose with my amateurs, because when they go pro, I just come from a place where all of our guys that fought, they were always Donnie Bush was fighting the toughest guys. Jillian Robertson was fighting the toughest girls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we just did that because we knew that like you could really get hurt out there. So let's figure out whether or not you really want to do this shit or not. And if you're gonna go pro, I want you to have the tools and know that you could fight with some of the best in the state. Look at Shane Mistrada. Shane Mistrada fought Kevin Morales, Brody Wigren, Chacho, Standor Sandville, um,
Mauricio
Mauricio Loyal, Daniel Faulkner, Patrick Conlon. He fought everybody, and we did that shit on purpose. We just did it on purpose. We were like, he had no wrestling background, no kickboxing, none of that shit. So let's fight the toughest and let's see if you really have this shit. Because if you don't and you don't want to do this shit and it's not for you, let's find out sooner than later so then you can go get a career.
Yeah, I agree. I like
it's different with me. I'm not worried about these motherfuckers paying me a monthly tuition. You know what I'm saying? Like where like they need to pay my a tuition for my martial arts gym. We're a brotherhood. So I'm not worried about their monthly payments. So for me, I'm just like, man, it's sink or swim. Let's go fucking fight because if you have a family, you've got a wife and kids and this and that, if it's over with, it's over with. Go get a career.
All right, let's
we find out really fast whether these guys want to do it or not. You know what I'm saying? It's just different. I'm in a different situation than most people because that's just the way that it is. It's a brotherhood, you know.
All right, let's keep the ball rolling and talk about the co-main event as well. Kyle Blair versus Eddie Perlaza in a featherweight matchup, and man, those guys came in there and were throwing straight smoke, and
unbelievable.
Eddie Perlaza engaged in that and then changed levels a couple of times, and that's where he ended up finding the success and getting the win. What'd you guys see there?
Yo, I had a front row seat to that finish. I was sitting right there when it happened. Ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Number one, Kyle Blair was giving Eddie everything he wanted on his feet. He was putting that pressure on him, and at one point Eddie got wobbled a little bit, and Eddie took him down. And Eddie's a striker, so whenever he took him down, and he got in the full mount, I was like, oh shit. He starts raining down punches, and he's screaming, F you, F you, F you, as he's like bouncing his head off the canvas. It was rough to watch. Jumps on the cage, starts screaming, like going crazy. And then Kyle Blair gets up, turns to Richard Cox, who's cage side right there too, and says, I need you to book me another fight. This was just a warm-up. I need to get my feet wet. That's your first thought? Yo, you were just getting your head bounced off the canvas, but he was there. Like, you know, obviously he got put in a bad position on the ground and got pounded out by Eddie. But man, just the fact that he turned to Richard and said that right after Eddie's performance, like, you know, Eddie does put a lot in this game. He trains with me over at Fusion. He's a good kid. I was, you know, I like both of those guys. Kyle's fought for us before. Showman, good dudes. That was a dope fight. I liked it.
Man, Blair came out like a bat out of hell, man. He was nonstop like a shotgun. Sorry, my daughter just came in to say goodnight. But, man, his shots were absolutely massive. He was doing crazy damage. He was knocking Eddie around the combatagon. And once Eddie changed that level and got it on the legs, it was an entirely different story. Once he took that mount, he went to town, bro. He must have thrown 30 or 40 hammer fists at the end, just in succession. Oh, it was a vicious finish.
All right, I'm gonna we talked about the main event and the co-main event, and so I want to throw this out there to you guys. Fight of the night, if we haven't already discussed it in your opinion.
Okay, I missed a couple. I missed a couple when I was wrapping hands, but when I came back, I caught the last like 2 rounds and the last minute of the first of the Keith Forbes Brock Waldy fight. Yo, that was insane. That was just action packed, unbelievable.
Yeah, that was an incredible fight. That one would probably get my nod for fight of the night as well. Keith Forbes came out, and he's one of those guys that really took his time on the walkout, taking in, you know, the moment, kind of creating the moment, controlling the flow of things. You know, maybe there's a little bit of mind games there as well, just in terms of just controlling that whole. It's like his opponent was in the cage for probably 6 or 7 minutes during his walkout. before he finally made it in there. Came out to some gospel music, had a little church service going. Really brought some. I think he was just bringing himself, but it really played well in terms of like just showmanship and so forth. And then his performance definitely backed it up.
Yo,
He's
Ben,
go. Mhm.
no, go ahead. That was the fight of the night. There's no doubt in my mind about that. It was ridiculous. It was it was really like the whole thing, just like you said, when he walked out, when Keith Forbes walked out, very emotional, crying, doing the words. Like, I was crazy, man. And then the fight itself, man, Brock Waldy, man, you gotta love that dude. He was the pressure, the intensity. I think he had some nasty takedowns that would have taken down most any man, but Keith Forbes' hips, bruh. He was literally like hip switching in the air and defending takedowns. It was crazy. That's fight of the night, no doubt. That was fight of the night. Yeah, I couldn't believe Forbes. And both these guys look good. Forbes just found a way to look better and get the job done. But that for me was fight of the night. I think everyone was talking about that fight, the whole thing.
Man, I'll say this: fighters, take note. Keith Forbes is more than just a guy who's getting in the cage and being an athlete. He took 6 minutes and put on a show for a walkout. People remember that. People talk about that walkout. After the fight, being overly dramatic, crying in the cage, sermonized to his friends, and even that about him has changed. When he fought Zaki in his debut, he had a film crew with him, a private film crew for his debut, just generating content, very different content. I think he found religion like 2 or 3 fights in, but he still showmanship. He's bringing a lot to the table. His content's very strong. The stuff that he's giving you guys to film, which is going to get him the most views, is excellent. He's taken the time to kind of craft a way to put his personality out there, whether he gets mic time or not.
Yep.
So one thing to point out about this card, the first portion of it, 4 or 5 fights, we had a lot of guys that were debuts, and even all of those fights were action-packed. So big star in the column there for Richard Cox in terms of turning up these new fighters and finding these new guys, and these guys coming out, with decent training. Some of the guys were older. We had some older guys making debuts, as well as some really young guys making debuts. And that 0-0 didn't matter at all because they all came out and threw down.
Man, there's two. Yes, sorry.
Go ahead. I like the fact. I think it's becoming more and more known in the state. I think if you're in the MMA community, you don't know that you better bring your A game to combat night. That's just how it is. Like, I have the coaches and fighters tell me all the time, like, my guys aren't ready for combat night. My guys, or I'm not ready to fight for you guys yet. And it's like, all right, I can respect that. Like, at least you know that. But these guys that come to fight for us, like, expect everything. And I told the guys before they fought, like, yo, your number 1 job is to win your fight. Your number two job is to be entertaining. And all these guys showed out. The intensity in the walkouts, the intensity in the post-fight interviews, the everything, man. They put on shows, a lot of knockouts. It was just, all on point. I think, like I said, these guys know when they come fight for us, they better bring their A game. We're going to have the cameras. We're going to have the lights. We're going to have all of that. They just got to bring the action.
Man, the Beecham is also like, there's something about that theater. I've only been to 2 at the Beecham, but both times the fights were absolutely like off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's the vibe of that like open theater where you have that, second floor seating, you got people looking down on you like the Coliseum. You got the bars and the floor looking up to you, and you're surrounded and it's tight. And the stage is like 7 feet away from the cage, and everyone's yelling. And there's 3 screens in the back end. It's like a really intense setting. It's like, it's got to have something to do with it. Because every time I've been to the Beecham, like the intensity is like.
It's our venues, man. You know, Sway's the same way. I mean, you've been to most of Sway shows too. It's that energy. It's a little. It's different whenever you get in that cage. You turn and look, and you see your fucking mom 6 feet away. It's like mama's yelling, mama's screaming. You turn, you see your brother, you see your training partners. It's like, yo, I'm fixing to show out for my people. I mean, it really is. That's how I came up in the sport in Tallahassee, at the Moon. My first 3 fights were there at the Moon, and yo, you don't beat. There's no greater feeling than being able to look out. You know, at our pro shows, it's a little more formal, and people aren't like standing right there by the cage. You know, you got like 20 feet so of like space, but like at these small intimate shows, man, it just I love that feeling. There's no, out of all the fights I've been in, Bellator included, one championship included, give me the Moon in Tallahassee every single time. 10 out of 10, I'll take the Moon over a stadium in Singapore, no doubt.
Yeah, the Moon as a venue has grown tremendously even since the times you fought there, and as Combat Night has come through there, it's like it's a great show. We had some fantastic finishes last night as well. Do you guys have any particular KO of the night?
Let me take this one. Kyle Day might have the fastest knockout in Combat Night history at 7 seconds.
5 seconds, I think, is the fastest, or maybe 3.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah,
And there was a 5-second one that night. There was a 5-second one the same night.
I think you're Robles.
But Kyle's Day was more impressive.
Man, it was nuts. And here's the thing, like, it was a journeyman's fight. You know what I mean? Neither of these guys had an absolutely stellar record. Kyle Day especially, he was on an 8-fight losing streak. Came out there and this man down in 6.5, 7 seconds. That's nuts.
Yeah, and
the only thing I can think of is that I wrapped his hands for this one, and that might make all the difference.
Have you've never wrapped his hands before?
Never.
There you go, Kyle Day. You got to move down to Palm Beach. It's been settled.
Another impressive performance was the debut of Yorobas Castaneda, who that was a heavyweight MMA bout, and he came out and they went there. His opponent reached for a touch of the gloves. He wasn't having it, and it was like threw a head kick and dropped him, and then a couple of maybe extra shots that. But I think the head kick had already done the deed, and that was quite an impressive performance. And I know he comes from a good camp of some great kickers. Sorry,
Robles, yes, the biggie. You know, there's a lot of people talking shit about that fight online. Like, number one is debuts. You never know what you're gonna get. You know, debuts are like a box of chocolates. That kind of sound no Diddy. But you know, if Sean comes in there and beats him, takes him down, submits him, it's like, I'm gonna guess Yarbrough probably doesn't have the best jiu-jitsu, and he probably would look like a fish out of water. And people would have been like, "Oh, what you doing in there? He shouldn't be in the octagon. He looks like that." It's like, yeah, fucking casual. This is the fight game.
They're just
how matchups happen. Yeah. I mean, look at Javier. Javier 6-0, washes big dudes, crazy ripped, does his thing, all this love, and then he loses to somebody who's ripped and big, and they're like, "Oh, that guy didn't belong in there. What was he doing?" And it's like, shut the fuck up. Like, you cannot tell me the quickest way to tell me you're casual is to criticize a man for his worst moment. That's it. Like, you never been there, my guy. I think he was still there after the head kick. So that's why, again, I think Kyle's was more impressive, because I've watched both back like 40 times, not gonna front. When Castaneda hits Sean with a head kick, Sean tries to block it, but he blocks it. This hand gets there and this hand doesn't make it in time. He blocks it like he's in sparring still. No offense, but your sparring training partners probably aren't blasting 100% head kicks to you. So like he's blocking it like he's in sparring. Like, oh, I get over there, knocks him down. But right away, he jumps on a low single. Unfortunately, Castaneda found a nice hammerfish right away. Bam! And then every punch he threw just landed. Like, ugh, what do you do? So I think Sean's got a lot more fight in him. I think he'll be back for sure. And Castaneda, man, what an impressive. It was cool because Sean came out to touch gloves, and Castaneda said no. Shook his head, no. He didn't take a cheap shot. We've all seen it, where a guy takes a cheap shot. He shook his head no, gave him a second to get his hands up, and then he blasted the head kick. I was impressed by that guy.
That was a classic grappler versus striker matchup.
Yes.
And the striker got the better of it, and we never even saw anything on the ground. So,
yep,
it's true. Man, honorable mention to Colin Walker on his debut against Christian Gee. That finish, that teep feint to like 3-2, ferocious. He pulled that right out of John Haggerty's playbook. That was vicious.
That's very
finish. Really strong.
Very, very dope. Very dope. It was interesting to me. He lunged so hard, almost like he was going to throw a flying knee. But obviously in amateurs, it's got to be. At least it should be a teep. But like he lunged so hard, almost like the guy in Fort Pierce that hit the kid with a flying knee. That he swears was a teep. It was almost reminiscent of that. Only obviously the knee didn't land, the teep didn't throw it. Man, that hook cross, and then props to Florida man Chris McNochie. The stoppage on that one was nasty. He ran in and like dove across, protected the guy, and luckily didn't get hit by Christian Gee because he was throwing some Colin Walker. He was throwing some heavy ground and pound.
Man, those hammer fists to finish once G was on the floor. Damn, dude, from his feet, full sumo squat from the sky to the floor. Vicious shot. By the way, that kid's what, 18? Top?
Yep, just turned 18.
Vicious. Dude, his career is going to be real nice. That kid is brutal already.
Another fight definitely worth mentioning was Eric Jones versus Giovanni Jean. Go.
Dude, I wasn't sleeping on Eric Jones. I just couldn't find food before our first show just because he has such a general name and I didn't know him. You know what I mean? But now that I've seen him and I know his face and I can kind of go back. Firstly, how does that man make 155? Oh, he's huge.
Yeah, he was huge.
That's his first fight at 55.
He used to fight 70?
Yep.
Massive. That is a big man. And Giovanni is no slouch. Granted, only one fight in, but he's spectacular in that fight. And I guess he wasn't ready for that power difference. He did a lot of good work. He was shooting hard, pulling to the half, circling out the back, using his deep half sweeps. And Eric Jones was just like, no, sir, not today. And just put a stop on everything he tried. Beat him at every turn, blocked him at every hip bump, and was just doing damage. And I don't know if it was his size, which definitely plays a role, having to carry a guy who's that much bigger. Power that comes along with that size as well.
Yep. He
stuffed everything Gio brought to him. Everything.
Yeah, for me, that was the big difference was would he be able to defend the grappling? How that would go. And he was. He's very impressive, showed that he cannot just strike, but he can grapple as well.
Did he make weight on this one? Because I know in his post-fight interview, he talked about how difficult it was.
Yep. That'll only get easier. The more he does it, the more he'll figure out what to do, what not to do. But yeah, he made weight.
I'm following some of the comments here. And we have Felipe Figueroa says we want to see Leo Figueroa for October 26th in Jacksonville. Always be nice.
Yo, we want to see him too, Felipe. We love Leo, man. Leo comes and brings it every single time he's in there. We love to get him a fight. It's just a matter of finding that opponent. Leo's at a point where can't fight somebody who's 1-1. He's got to fight somebody who's got a record. It's real important. You know, a guy like Leo, who he's fought nothing but savages. Leo has fought tough dude after tough dude after tough dude. We want to make sure he gets another tough fight, to be honest with you, because he can handle it, and that's what's going to get him better. So rest assured that Richard Cox will find him a tough opponent, and we will get him back in there.
All right.
Miles Amos tells us again Orlando has the best fights.
Keep saying that, but then we go to Fort Lauderdale, and he wrong. The dirty South is where it's at, my man.
I think the issue is we don't have pro shows in Fort Lauderdale. I think that's part of the issue. Probably need to bring a pro show back down Fort Lauderdale. And plus, you know, Orlando is my hometown, so we do like an extra show here or two even. So they get a lot more opportunities to fight here. But yeah, I think that might be changing soon for Fort Lauderdale. We got some things in the mix. We're trying to find a venue down there that makes sense. We'll see if it works out, but hopefully we do. And you know, maybe we do a man. This one's gonna be hard though, man, because how many finishes were there on this card?
Hold on, let me look real quick.
7 or 8?
1, 2, 3. 10.
Pitbull
10
chiming
finishes, 4 decisions.
10. Yeah, Pitbull for fans and for the environment, nothing beats Tallahassee. I keep telling these people, make the trip to Tallahassee, turn it into a vacation or something, because Tallahassee, the feeling when you walk in that venue, the energy, the lights, everything, like that place is set up for combat night for sure.
Dude,
Hands
the Moon
down.
is an awesome venue. The Moon's
Yeah.
fantastic. I haven't been to a bad show there. Always really, really solid.
Here's another good question from the fans. Do beards block damage?
Do you remember when this was a thing, when Kimbo got in like Strike Force and people were trying to get him or get the commission to make him shave his beard, saying it helped absorb impact from strikes?
Yes, I do. I gotta think that it helps a little bit. Like maybe that's like the most minute amount of whatever, because one, where exactly is my chin? Do I have a tiny chin? Do I have a big chin? You don't really know because you can't see it. So I think that for sure. But I think there probably is, I mean, somewhat, right? A little bit. It's gotta help a little bit. Like point.
So,
I know it helps
I
me
just
not get
found-
submitted.
There was a study done in 2020, and it reduces the force of impact by absorbing the impact. Like the denser the beard, the more it will absorb.
Like Miles' beard probably absorbs a lot.
Yeah.
That beard is dense. Mine, on the other hand, is probably just helping me with the chokes, because it's like real. You get your hand stuck in this, you're entangled now. It's like, how do I choke this guy?
I got a couple guys in my gym that have like longer dreads, and just like I'm like, shave your head, because dudes will accidentally rest their knee on your hair to set up stuff, you know. And I'm sure the same can kind of be done with a beard if it gets long enough.
Plus, why the extra weight? You know, Ginseng cut his hair. Now Ginseng made 135 before. He also missed. Ginseng cut his hair, and I want to say it was 4.4 pounds or like 4.5, 4 pounds. And it's like, bro, you made 35, so you really made 31. And who knows how wet they got while you were cutting the weight and how much they were holding.
Yeah.
So, like, I try to tell Phoenix eBay, I tell them all the time, like, yo, cut your hair. For me, if you really want to be, I get it. I understand, like, it is a part of identity for some, and it is a part of culture. But let's be real. How many UFC fighters do y'all see with dreads?
That's 5 pounds. We have Keith Speed fighting in Duval on the 26th. He's got dreads to his butt that he has to like tie into big braids and tie down and bun up. And like he had in a bun for one fight, and I was really worried about guillotines, because if you get over that bun, you are not. It's impossible. You can't pull your head out. You'd have to tear your own hair out.
Yep.
which was what got Sham to shave his head because his hair was getting so long. Dudes were like stepping on it when they were grappling and stuff, and it was tearing his dreads out.
Yep.
So he just zipped it.
How much easier
And you
did his weight? How much easier were his weight
Like-
cuts after he zipped it?
Like 3 or 4 pounds easier, I'd think. He had
Yep.
dreads to like under his pecs.
You
Yeah,
see,
Jalen
Jay,
Turner.
I'm telling y'all, man. I always say, like, you know, you don't have to wonder or make up things. You can always look to the highest level, to the UFC, and you can see things and you can determine what is best for you. For instance, how often do certain submissions hit? It's like, okay, what submissions hit the highest percentage? That's the shit you should be drilling. What positions are you in the most? That's the shit you should be drilling. You know, I saw a stat. Every fight ends up on the cage at some point in time. Should you be doing cage work? You know, open air takedowns, very rare. Most takedowns happen on the cage. It's like all these things that you should just, you know, these fighters, they want to build that fight IQ. They want to get better. This is how you do it. You look at the highest level and you see what's working and what's not working and where the fights happen and don't happen. And that's how you can kind of cater your training to make sure you're training for the right things to get to the top level.
To the point of that very specific thing about like being up against the cage, like in the Jose Aldo fight last night, I saw that Conor McGregor had made a post about saying they should start to diminish the amount of time you allow someone to be pushed up in the cage. So if they do it for like 2 minutes and you see they don't do anything with it, the next time after 30 seconds, break them up. Next time, if they go to it again, 20 seconds, break them up. And just keep lowering the time that you allow them to keep that control of it against the cage. If they're not doing anything with it, they're just holding them there. Thought that was a good.
Yes and no. I remember when I was coaching Brian Ebersol, we had this conversation. It's not my fault you can't stop me from doing this. Now, as an entertainment avenue, very different story. But if we're talking about purely about the sport of fighting or fighting in general, if we're in the streets and I put you on the floor or I pin you against the wall and you can't get out, tough shit. You know, but I understand that we are trying to entertain the masses, so there might need to be a cap on that. But if we're talking about the purity of the fight, we gotta let them be boring. Like, what would GSP be like historically if he was forced to press more? Because he was very tactical and at times very slow.
But he threw strikes.
Yes, but he had plenty of fights like Patrick Cote, etc., that were like real snooze fests, but were extremely tactical.
But you know, number one, the rules, right? I think the rules state 25 seconds of inactivity, maybe like inactivity, and then it's like up to the refs. Like, well, what's inactivity? I agree with Ben about, hey, if you can't get them off you, then whose fault is that? But then here's the other side of that. If I am trying to cut you off the ring and all you do is circle and you circle so well that I can't ever cut you off and there's never any fight happening, the ref's going to step in and go, you're fleeing. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You have to engage. You have to fight. To me, that's no different. If you're not trying to fight, that's what we're in. We're in a fight, right? So if you're not trying to fight, meaning trying to pass the guard, if you're not throwing punches, you know, these kind of things, I mean, you got to do something. Like it's a fight, right? I feel that way, and I feel like we should follow the rules. And I know there is a rule about inactivity. Larry Folsom, rest in peace, was very good. You know, he understands the positions, and I think that's the problem with a lot of these referees. They don't understand the sport well enough and the positions to know when someone's actually working or when someone's not working. So I think it is. I think it's very important that for activity, you know, you go into a freestyle wrestling match, take a step back, passivity. It's that real, and that's fucking wrestling. They don't play. It is you meet in the middle and you wrestle. That's what you came here to do, and I got to agree with that. But again, like I said, I don't disagree with Ben. There just needs to be a clear-cut rule on this, and that is the rule we go by. So it seems a little left in the hands of the ref too much right now. I would like to find a way to make it a clear-cut rule or get better referees that understand those positions so that we don't see that. Also, People talk shit about this small cage, but guess what? Don't happen in that small cage. People don't run. People fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 18-foot cage, it forces action. 3 steps back and you're on the wall. You better meet in the middle, hands high, chin tucked, ready to get down.
You know,
So that guy, Robert, brings up a good question. Come November 1st, when the unified rules are adjusted, is Combat Night going along with it?
Yeah, for the pro stuff, yeah, of course. I mean, I think we should be able to allow knee people in the heaven on the ground. I think it's whack as fuck that I can get rocked and just dive at someone's crotch, and now I took away half their weapons. Like, if you want to hang out in a failed double leg for however long, you should suffer those consequences. I mean, does anyone think that the Peter Yan fight should have went the way it did when he fought Aljo? Like, let's be real. Aljo was tired. He was gassing, and he dove at Peter Yan's crotch. Peter Yan defended and threw a knee. And if you ask me, that's not that to me. The knee you should be able to knee a grounded opponent.
yeah,
I miss
I'm with
Pride
that.
too.
I like a question Miles brought up a moment ago was something that we've discussed quite a bit from various cities. What's your thoughts on that, Mitch?
Wah. Big old. Sorry, Miles.
You don't like the idea of cities versus cities like themed shows? We've kind of done like a Tallahassee versus Georgia, Florida, Georgia before.
Yeah, as a fan, I love that idea. As a businessman, if someone wants to feed my family, I don't.
Mm.
I mean, let's just be real about it. People from Broward ain't driving up to Orlando to support their people. I don't care how what ticket seller we got. Like, when it comes down to it, just like I tell these fighters, their number one job is to win the fight. Number 2 is to entertain. My number one job is to make sure everybody gets paid. And number 2 is to entertain. My number one job is to make sure the fighter's taken care of, everyone's paid. That's all number 1. So I love the idea. And we can do that in Tallahassee because Georgia's right there. Tallahassee, Georgia. And like, let's be real, I'm not trying to stick Georgia by anything mean, but like South Georgia, when it comes to what they have entertainment wise, what do they have that's happening every weekend in South Georgia that competes with us?
Competition, yeah.
It's not close. Now Broward.
Yeah.
Broward and South Florida, but there's an event every weekend, every day. There's something happening that's for free. It's crazy down there. So like the competition to try to do that and bring them up to Orlando, I wouldn't mind doing Tampa and Orlando in Polk County. And Polk County is my hometown. That's something I would do. But as far as like these far away cities, like it just got to make sense. The numbers got to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make dollars, and it doesn't make dollars. I ain't trying to holler.
An hour away from both Tampa and Orlando.
Polk County.
Okay, like that would be perfect if
Yeah.
you want to do a city versus city. People like I'm in Palm Beach, and even getting Palm Beach folks to go to Broward is like pulling teeth. Like maybe it's because I'm a bit of a homebody, but like these kids won't commit to things that are made for them.
Yep.
Like I don't get it. And I notice like when Fusion guys fight in Broward, Tallahassee, there's never less than like 15 or 20 of them.
Yep. They support well.
Maybe it's that like Orlando is like, yeah, we got to go places, man. We got to, I don't know, because Broward and Palm Beach are just like, you come to us, dude. Like, whatever.
Yeah. Very true.
All right, guys. Are there any other fights or from last night that you guys want to touch on?
I think we covered all the heavy hitters.
I think so too. Well,
do we want to preview anything?
Yo, I want to give love to somebody else I just remembered about. Vic Harpaul and Sebastian Montalvero. Number 1, for those you don't know, Vic was a sponsor for us, and he's like a businessman that just thinks he can do anything he wants, and he wanted to take a fight. I thought Vic was going to get washed. Thought he was going to get smashed. He came out thugging it, throwing down. He hit Sebastian with some shots. Sebastian's a young kid fighting an older man, got manpower. Sebastian got hit a couple times, smiled. He's like, yeah, this is what I wanted. So that fight for me was a cool one because You saw this young gun take on an older wise man, and he ended up getting the win, ground and pound, beautiful victory. Looked great doing it. And Vic for stepping up and he sponsors a bunch of athletes too. And he wanted to prove a point that like, yo, you can do anything with enough hard work and like to put yourself out there. And bruh, impressed by Vic, impressed by Sebastian. That fight, I was excited for that fight.
Man, Sebastian's body does not match his face. His face is so young, so damn big.
Yeah. Yeah, I like, we got South Florida coming up, Fort Lauderdale. I'm excited about that. Ben's got a couple guys fighting for us. I'm excited to see Billy Keene fight. And Alejandro too. But Billy, I like 205. You know what I mean? And he's fighting a guy we've had for us a few times in kickboxing, Livens. So Dorville. So that fight got me really excited. We had a bunch of crazy fights down there. A couple women fights. Naomi is coming back. She's fighting a girl out of the Goat Shed, Annabelle, who Annabelle asked for that fight. She's like, I want to fight Naomi. So anytime someone calls somebody out, those always get me excited. A lot of other big fights down there. I think South Florida is going to deliver for sure.
Always. Like the card for this one looks stacked. If you guys aren't following Combat Night MMA on Instagram, do so. Scroll down a little bit. Look at the posters that they've putting out for this card. If you're into South Florida or Florida MMA, this card is going to be absolutely in.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I was just perusing it and seeing some of the folks that have put on shows there before. Ali Tremblay, Gertie Matthew, just a bunch of folks. Brianna Machado, I see in our kickboxing title.
Mm-hmm. She's fighting a girl. She's fighting a girl that's our champ, Amanda Rivera, who none of us have seen in a long time because Amanda had a baby, and now she's back. She's back for blood. So, and Brianna, we all know she comes in there a thump. So that's gonna be a good fight. Got a bunch of good fights.
Kevin Angel's on the Fort Lauderdale card too, right?
Nah, he was supposed to be on this card and he got cut.
It's a bummer, dude. I was really excited to see him fight. What a tactician.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh,
I tell you,
yeah, man.
I mean, there's so many reasons to like appreciate every camp we work with. I tell these guys all the time, they're my number one like reason for this. I love being a part of these fighters' journeys. But what Eric Gianni is doing over there at his gym, AMAA and a Bang Muay Thai system, he's got these young kids that started with him when they were like fucking 8, 9, and now they're all teenagers, and he's doing it right. They've been doing jiu-jitsu too and MMA, but they're putting them all in kickboxing, Muay Thai fights, and tough fights. And these kids, man, I'm telling you, in 5 years, Eric Gianni is going to have an army of guys that are all primed and ready to be in the UFC because he's doing it right.
All right, guys. So for all of you guys that have been watching, we appreciate you participating and shooting us questions and comments there throughout the course of this. And we look forward to seeing you guys from Fort Lauderdale. If you can't make it through, make sure you jump on the pay-per-view where you will get to listen to me and Ben call those fights, and Miles as well, who I tried to get him on, but he said he was putting babies to bed.
Who puts baby to bed at 10 o'clock at night? Man, you're Pap. You can't be using kids as an excuse like that. Who does that?
Man,
he was commenting.
My daughter went down at like 9.
Yeah, right when I got off. My kids went down right at 9. Literally, I got on here. I was like, "Hey, good night. Love you guys." To sleep. 10 p.m. though.
That's a little
on
late.
a school night.
Hey, well,
sure about that?
Make sure you're following us on Instagram at Combat Night MMA, on YouTube, and which you are if you're watching this, or if you're not, if you're just watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button and become one of our legion.
Yep. Next card is this Saturday in Fort Lauderdale.
And we look forward to seeing you guys all there. Until next time, y'all take care.
See you.
Bye, everybody.